The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. We've had a busy few years of royal events, the recent run of funerals, jubilees and coronations, but also the past few decades of weddings and Megxit. So what's next on the royal calendar? Trooping the Colour takes place on June 17th, and with it once again the question of whether or not Harry will attend. Royal expert Shannon Felton Spence said, "It's much easier for Harry to come to them than it is for them to go to California. It would benefit all parties to make sure their next visit is private with no photos or press release. The added pressure of public exposure certainly prolongs estrangement. Fighting through the press has never been the best way to handle situations. They will have learned that lesson during his parents' divorce. We'll see what Harry decides to do." The Daily Beast reports Harry's decision to appear in court for 3 days next month, giving evidence and being cross-examined in his phone hacking case against Mirror Group newspapers, has the royals worried there could be another skirmish within the family. A friend of Prince William told the Daily Beast, "I think the family know he could say anything and no one is looking forward to it. Harry seems to be obsessed by the idea that everyone was in cahoots with the media, so presumably there will be lots more of that." A friend of Camilla's told the Daily Beast that while the King and Queen were deeply hurt by Harry's actions so far, they absolutely accept he has the right to his day in court like any other private citizen. They say to lead from the top, and that is what the King has done for the past 10 years. He is the hardest working royal, carrying out nearly 5,000 engagements in that period, just ahead of Princess Anne. The Daily Mail reports the King carried out 4,854 engagements between 2013 and 2022, compared to his sister Anne, with 4,693. In third place was their brother, Prince Edward, with 3,155, followed by the 90-something-year-old Queen with 2,721, and Andrew with 2,289. A somewhat high total, considering he stepped back from royal duties 4 years ago. Sophie, 2,253, and Camilla, 2,084, were just behind, with Sophie stepping up last year to do her most engagements since 2014 as the Queen's health declined. Those slackers, William, 1,704, and Kate, 1,024, actually carried out fewer engagements than the lesser-known Duke of Gloucester, 2,056, and Duchess of Gloucester, 1,031. Kate was out-hustled by Prince Philip, 1,057, whose last engagement was in August 2017, having died in 2021. Former Royal Harry had 1,009, and Meghan Markle, who seems shocked to find out the royals don't just sit around and get served all day, well, at least not all day. Meghan did a whopping 179 engagements before moving to California for the privacy that comes with podcasts, Netflix specials, and picking up awards from Gloria Steinem. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams told Mail Online, "The engagements carried out by members of the royal family are far too often taken for granted. In fact, a link with a member of the royal family has a very special cachet, benefiting the profile of an institution very considerably. These figures show how hard-working for a decade until 2022 both King Charles and Princess Anne have been and the numbers of engagements they have carried out. It also shows Edward and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, as extremely hard-working. William and Catherine have done far fewer numerically, but have done a great deal for the causes they are attached to, and gives their profiles a huge boost as the world's most glamorous royal couple. Examples of this are the Earthshot Prize, United for Wildlife, and Catherine's work for the Centre of Early Childhood. There's been much talk of a slimmed-down monarchy, and it's notable that several of the royals on the list are of advanced age. The future clearly rests with George, Charlotte, and Louis, the children of William and Catherine. One cannot help noting that Meghan, who carried out a mere 179 engagements on behalf of the royal family, and Harry, who carried out 1,009 during the decade, have complained to the world about how they believe they were treated as senior working royals. Yet actually Meghan, in particular, contributed very little. So when they boasted, "We can all live a life of service, service is universal," they were surely being selfish. Palace Intrigue will be right back. You know, listening to all these going-ons with the royals just makes me want to grab a glass of wine. And thanks to First Leaf, I've always got a quality bottle on hand. Stay with me and I'll tell you how to save 50% on your first order at tryfirstleaf.com. First Leaf is a wine subscription service. See, I don't know much about picking the right wine, so it always takes time to find something I like, and it's a waste of time and money. So with First Leaf, just go online, answer some easy questions about flavors and tastes you like, and in about 5 minutes, you've created your own personalized wine profile. Then your First Leaf personal wine concierge creates a custom package, and this hand-selected delivery arrives at your door within a few days. It's cheaper and easier than going to the store. I have now found a delicious South Australian Shiraz that I love. In fact, I may just order some more now. It's great to reconnect with friends and family over bottles of First Leaf wine, and I'll bet you'll feel that way too. So give First Leaf a try. Head over to tryfirstleaf.com/palace to sign up and save 50% on your first 6 hand-curated bottles plus free shipping. That's try, T-R-Y, first, F-I-R-S-T, leaf, leaf.com/palace to save 50% on your first 6 bottles plus free shipping. Tryfirstleaf.com/palace. Hey, I want to tell you about HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Now that the coronation is over, the spring sunshine is here, and it's calling your name. So don't call for takeout, get HelloFresh instead. And in a moment, I'm going to tell you how to get 16 meals free. With HelloFresh, you can pick from over 40 weekly recipes, but you can choose from over 100 items to round out your order, from snacks and easy lunches to desserts and pantry necessities. So I got a chance to try the Santa Fe pork tacos with Monterey Jack and lime slaw the other night. I mean, to go out and get all these ingredients would take you an hour at the grocery store, and then you have to do all the prep work and the chopping, and then there's all this waste. But with HelloFresh, you get exactly what you need in one convenient kit. It took about 15 minutes to make and super delicious. You can even control the spice if you like them a little hotter. Delicious. So right now, you can get 16 free meals when you go to HelloFresh.com and use the code PALACE16. It's PALACE16. That's because, we're Palace Intrigue, and it's 16 free meals. HelloFresh.com, code PALACE16, and you'll also get free shipping. It doesn't get any easier. HelloFresh.com and use the code PALACE16. And we here at Palace Intrigue thank you for supporting our sponsors. Insider wondered what would happen if Britain abolished the monarchy. Royal commentator Marlene Koenig said it would take legislation, an act of parliament, and signed by the sovereign to end the monarchy. The king would give up Buckingham Palace, but he wouldn't have to give up all of his royal residences. The palace could become a permanent tourist attraction if the king were to officially move out. The palace is property of the Crown Estate. However, this would change if the new king was no longer head of state, according to the Crown Estate's official website, which states, "The Crown Estate is not the private property of the king. Our assets are hereditary possessions of the sovereign held in the right of the crown. This means they belong to the sovereign for the duration of their reign, but cannot be sold by them, nor do revenues from the assets belong to them." As pointed out by Koenig, the monarch also privately owns Balmoral Castle in the Scottish Highlands and the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk, where the royals spent every Christmas and New Year. Therefore, it's likely one of these could be chosen as a new permanent residence if the monarchy was abolished. Koenig said, most of the former German royal families stayed in their homes. Some property was confiscated, others received compensation, including the Kaiser's family. Would Kate and William have to go the Harry and Meghan route to make a living? Insider points out they do have similar skill sets to the Sussexes. They currently run their own charity, the Royal Foundation, where they often give speeches at charity dinners and events. And in October 2021, Prince William teamed up with David Attenborough for a 5-part documentary series about the environmental challenges facing our planet, which aired on BBC One in the UK and Discovery in the US. Royal commentator Victoria Arbiter says not to worry about any of this. Always before a big royal event, the polls say nobody cares, but on the day, millions of people show up. When you look back, historically, the younger generation is always a bit less enchanted with the royal family, and this changes with age as they see the benefit of the politically neutral head of state. It's nothing new. It doesn't mean the royal family can't rest on their laurels, but the response the royals receive at engagements speaks more than a poll. Catty Kay, writing for the BBC, wonders if Charles should look to other European monarchies for the way forward. If Charles III was running a business, he'd turn to a leadership coach, or perhaps a therapist. But being a king isn't like being a CEO. There aren't many self-help books on nailing a successful royal reign. So, offered in the spirit of friendly advice, here are some royal lessons from abroad. From Norway, how to soothe family tensions. Norway's royal family has its own rebellious spare, the child not destined to rule, but they have dealt with the situation in a very different way. Princess Martha Louise is the oldest daughter of King Harold V and Queen Sonja, because Norway's surprisingly unprogressive royal succession laws were only changed when the princess was a teenager. Her younger brother will inherit the throne, but she's a fascinating and controversial character in her own right. Martha Louise talks to angels. A few years ago, she set up a school where, for a fee, she taught other people how to get in contact with the angels too. Norway's press quickly dubbed it the Angel School. Her fiancé is an American, a shaman with a large social media following and a side business selling $200 spirit optimizer medallions, which he suggests helped cure him from COVID. There's been so much turmoil with me, taking a different path and being a traditional royal. There's been a lot of criticism over the years, she said, during a day we spent together in Trondheim, Norway, where she was hosting a spiritual event. Amid complaints that she was using her royal title to make money from these businesses, she too stepped back from royal duties in 2022 and now describes herself as a serial entrepreneur. Martha Louise says, "What has been amazing through this whole cycle has been the conversations we've all had through it all." Carolyn Vagel, royal reporter at See and Hear, a tabloid magazine, said, "The king said it's a culture conflict and put out a statement that the family are stronger together after the discussions. I think the king is a diplomat and everyone could say what they mean and maybe they agree to disagree. They love each other. It's a good family relationship." And critically, when they say they love each other, Norwegians believe them. Meanwhile, in Denmark, Queen Margrethe II of Denmark announced she was slimming down the monarchy and cutting 4 of her 8 grandchildren from the royal payroll, stripping them of their royal titles of prince and princesses. Prince Joachim heard the news from a courtier. When a Danish reporter questioned him in public on the streets of Paris one day, he didn't hold back, saying his children had been mistreated. Royal reporter Tina Gotchi said, "That really rocked the boat because it was the first time ever that the members of the royal family would speak out about things they didn't agree with." Queen Margrethe deployed an unlikely weapon, humility. She released a statement saying she stood by the decision, but had underestimated the extent to which her son and his family felt about it. "That makes a big impression, and for that I am sorry." From Belgium, a lesson in what to say about the colonial past. The current King of Belgium, Philippe, recently issued a letter of regret for his ancestors' past, but it was not an apology. Philip's aunt, Princess Marie Esmeralda, is far more outspoken and told the BBC, "We have to face the past, especially when we see that racism is really structural in our societies and it comes directly from slavery, from colonialism, so we have to face that. As a member of the royal family, because my great-great-uncle was a ruler at the time, I think it's important to talk about it. It's a responsibility." Continuing this week's look at royal jobs, The Guardian tells us of the Fendersmith. While it sounds like a 90s indie band, the Royal Fendersmith cleans and maintains palace fireplaces, lightings, and fires. In 2019, Fendersmith Gary Jones hit the news for what the Sun called steamy trysts with a royal chambermaid. Jones succeeded his father Robert in 1984 because apparently fendersmithing runs in the families. Fun Fendersmith fact: the tune played by a piper at the Queen's funeral was called Salute to Willie. The Royal Fendersmith and commemorates Fendersmith Willie Banks, who died in 1993. It was written by his brother James, a pipe major. Another job is the warden and marker of the swans. While the king doesn't own all British swans, since 1482 the Crown can claim all swans that aren't marked. Working out who's as part of an annual swan upping census, which also doubles as a welfare check. By 1993, swan wrangling had apparently become so complex, the former keeper of the swan's gig, a 13th century creation, was split into 2 jobs. Now there's a warden of the swans, Christopher Perrins, an Oxford biologist, but also a marker of the swans, David Barber. Barber presides over the swan upping in a nice red jacket and a hat with a swan's feather in it, but this is not a purely honorific role. All year round, I'm dealing with different issues with Natural England giving permission to people to move swans or dealing with problems with injured swans, he said in an interview last year, which regrettably omitted to ask him whether a swan can in fact break a man's arm. The Garter Principal of King of Arms, or GPKA, as no one calls him, is the top official of the College of Arms, the body responsible for overseeing British heraldry, coats of arms and the like. He gives heraldic and other advice to the Crown and government departments and receives an honorarium to cover his time and expenses. There you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or your app of choice. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue, and good times.